The Haunting Hour. The wind howled like a mourning widow, and the sky was a canvas of darkness, splattered with streaks of silver lightning. Aaron had always loved storms. They were nature's symphony to him, a chaotic beauty. But tonight, as the thunder rattled his windows and the rain lashed against the glass, Aaron felt something he hadn't before: fear. Aaron had rented a secluded cabin deep in the woods to work on his new novel. He needed solitude and inspiration, and this storm seemed to offer both. But as the evening wore on, strange things began happening. It started with the lights, flickering, dimming, then a complete blackout. He wasn't surprised. Storms often knocked out the power in rural areas. Grabbing a flashlight, Aaron lit a few candles and settled back into his writing chair. The rhythmic tapping of rain on the roof was oddly comforting. Then he heard it, a faint knock. Aaron froze, his pen hovering above the paper. The cabin was miles from any neighbor or main road. Who would be out in a storm like this? Another knock, louder this time. He grabbed the flashlight and cautiously approached the door. Through the peephole he saw nothing but the endless sheets of rain. Mustering courage, he opened the door a crack. "Hello," he called out, his voice barely audible over the storm. No answer. The only thing in front of him was a muddy trail of boot prints leading away from the porch, disappearing into the woods. Aaron's heart raced. He quickly shut the door, bolting it. Trying to shake off the unease, he returned to his desk, but no sooner had he sat down than he felt a chill, not the kind caused by the cold, but the kind that prickled the skin and gnawed at the mind. Then came the laughter, soft at first like the giggle of a child. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Aaron's breath hitched as the laughter turned into whispers, inaudible words that sounded both near and distant. He spun around, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. The room was empty. He tried to convince himself it was the storm, playing tricks on his senses, but the whispers grew louder, clearer. They were calling his name. "Aaron!" He stumbled back, tripping over the coffee table. The flashlight rolled across the floor, casting eerie shadows that seemed to move on their own. Gathering his courage, he grabbed the flashlight and bolted toward the bedroom, slamming the door shut behind him. His phone. He'd left it charging by the bed, but as he reached for it, he saw something that made his blood run cold. Written on the condensation-covered window was a message. "Let me in." Aaron staggered back, heart pounding. Lightning illuminated the room for a split second, and he swore he saw a figure standing outside the window, a pale face with hollow eyes, staring back at him. The whispers turned into a cacophony of voices, pleading, shouting, crying. They spoke of betrayal, of secrets buried deep. One voice cut through the rest, a woman's, sharp and accusatory. "You promised," it screamed. Aaron clutched his head, trying to block out the noise. He didn't know what they meant. Promised what? To whom? The storm outside seemed to grow angrier, the thunder booming like a furious heartbeat. Suddenly everything went quiet. The storm, the voices, silence. Aaron opened his eyes, his ears ringing in the absence of sound. He thought it was over. Maybe he had imagined it all, but then he felt it. A hand, ice cold, resting on his shoulder. He turned slowly, terrified of what he might see, but there was no one there. Instead, the door to the bedroom was wide open, and a figure stood silhouetted in the hallway. Lightning illuminated the figure for a brief moment. It was the woman he'd seen in the window, her face gaunt, her eyes black voids. "Aaron," she whispered, her voice a blend of sorrow and rage. "You left me." Memories came flooding back. Memories Aaron had buried deep. She was Clara, his fiancée. A woman he had abandoned years ago in the middle of a storm. much like this one. They had fought, and in a moment of anger he had driven away, leaving her stranded. She had tried to follow him, but her car had skidded off the road and into a ravine. Clara hadn't survived. "I didn't mean to," Aaron stammered, tears streaming down his face. "It was an accident. I didn't know." Clara stepped closer, her form flickering like a glitch in reality. "You knew," she said. "And now it's your turn." The storm roared back to life as Aaron screamed. Lightning flashed, illuminating the cabin one last time, before everything was consumed by darkness. The next morning, the storm had passed. A group of hikers found the cabin door ajar. Inside, they discovered Aaron's belongings, his unfinished manuscript, and his flashlight still rolling on the floor. But Aaron himself was nowhere to be found. The only clue was a single sentence written in his notebook. "The storm always collects its debts."